everybody. Harris O'Malley from DrNerdLove.com. So, earlier, when I was talking about the APA's new guidelines for men's mental health, I touched on the fact that Gillette released a new commercial that directly addressed toxic masculinity, asking men to do better. And I also touched a little bit on the reaction that a lot of people, mostly men, had to it. As it turns out, I got a lot more to say about it because, well, it's made people lose their goddamn minds. I mean, it's literally just saying, hey, men can do better, and people are acting as though this was the announcement that XY chromosomes have been made illegal, and having chest hair means that you're gonna get rounded up to go to camps. Now, sure, there's always going to be the outrage merchants whose brand is literally, I'm threatened by change and I'm angry at literally everything that's different than me. There's the people who had to work really hard to miss the point of the ad because they've only got that one note and they're sticking to it. And of course, the people who think, hey, it's good for people to be kind to each other is the sort of thing that people only say for social brownie points and really want you to not notice that complaining about so-called virtue signaling is in of itself a form of virtue signaling. Although I have to admit, my personal favorite are the folks who want to bring up the current right-wing boogeyman of cultural Marxism. I mean, I appreciate it when somebody drops that phrase because they're signaling that either they're taking their political philosophy from Nazis or from 4chan, and either way, you no longer have to take them seriously.
Communism was just a red herring.
And of course, there's always the folks who are basically on the lookout to get angry about something and reaffirm their own shaky sense of masculinity by throwing around faggot and soy boy to the point that you could write a troll farm bot to do it for you with pretty much 100% accuracy. But let's be honest here, just you, me, and everybody watching this, the outrage isn't just disproportionate to the supposed offense, it's overblown to the point that if all you did was look at the comments on Twitter and on the YouTube channel, you could be forgiven for thinking that this ad was about the joys of drowning puppies. But what makes the, let's be real here, manufactured outrage so beard stroke chin scratch unusual is how much they're having to work to create things to be angry about. It's one thing when the randos want to fling around like a roid rage gorilla, but there are people getting so angry about things that are literally not in the video that it's starting to feel like some weird bird box makes you see your worst nightmare experiment and they're the only ones who took off the blindfolds. Because if you strip out the bots and the handed down talking points, what you get down to are a lot of dudes telling on themselves. You get a whole lot of people who are taking calling out men who are behaving badly as a personal insult. Because if you're not one of the guys who's doing this, then why is this bothering you? The people who are calling this an attack on men or traditionally masculine behaviors or male upbringing are complaining that being told that, hey, maybe don't harass people, maybe don't let your kids beat the shit out of other kids, is somehow telling them to not be men. For real, I've tried to give these people the benefit of the doubt. I have honestly gone through and tried to find anything that could be considered an attack on good men as a whole, and while granted I'm biased, I freely admit this, trying to call any of this an assault on masculinity as a whole or that it's telling men to be chicks requires the kind of logic reach that would impress Reed Richards. A number of people, for example, complain that this demonizes men for approaching or flirting with women. Except there's literally no point in this ad when you see a man flirting with women. Ever. What we do see are clear-cut examples of catcalling and harassment with women who obviously don't appreciate it. It is blatantly clear from their body language and the context of the ad that this isn't meant to be seen as someone trying to innocently approach an individual that they would like to date. And there is literally nothing about this that's saying that every guy is a harasser or a rapist waiting to happen. What the ad does do is call out sexual harassment and the way that society has encouraged it and normalized it. And you see this with examples like the cartoon and the tropey sitcom horn dog. The same thing goes with the people who are saying that this ad somehow stigmatizes or criticizes boys for playful roughhousing, except that's not what we're seeing in the ad at all. Look at the face of the boy being chased by the mob, or the boy that's comforted by his mother, or the boy who's on the ground at the barbecue. These are not the faces of youthful horsing around. These aren't kids who are enjoying some rough and tumble play. they're being hurt. Those boys chasing the kid that we see running through the entire ad aren't just playing a really enthusiastic game of tag. They're trying to beat the ever-loving out of that kid. And the ad goes out of its way to ensure that we don't miss the fact that bullying isn't just physical. It's not just being beat up at the playground at school. That crying boy who's being comforted by his mother is under an overlay of tweets, and that serves as a reminder that in this connected age, there's often literally no escape from your bullies. And if you're about to say that kids need to toughen up and not be so wussy, I might point out that the same folks who are calling these kids snowflakes are the ones who are screaming online about a razor commercial. But if we're gonna be honest, and I'm trying to be honest here with you, I think what is bothering people the most is that this ad isn't just calling out the bullies, and it's not just calling out the harassers or the folks who think that over-the-top drunkenness is the marker of cool. I think why people are getting upset is because the commercial is calling out the bystanders, the guys who may not be doing it themselves, but who are letting it happen. Which honestly is part of what I really like about it. The criticism isn't being thrown just at the bully at the barbecue. It's at all the fathers who are treating it like it's normal and who won't intervene because...
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
It's the fact that the criticism isn't just being levied at the over-the-top dude groping the maid in the sitcom. It's the way that it's being presented as comedy, with a laughing audience literally being told to applaud. And the fact that they call out the laughing is important because those men in the audience may not be the ones doing the groping, but they are signaling their approval by laughing at it. They're saying that making women uncomfortable and touching them without their consent is socially acceptable. And that's important because a big reason why so much of this bad behavior goes on is because people and the culture as a whole give their approval, both implicitly and explicitly. Laughing at rape jokes, laughing at trans people, at gay people, or at sexual harassment carries the message that this is all okay, and even silence in its own way tacitly signals approval, which honestly is part of the reason for all the pushback, because the norms and behaviors that this ad is explicitly criticizing can only continue to exist if the people who disagree with it are silent. And that's what this ad is doing. It even lays out its thesis as blatantly as it possibly can with an excerpt from Terry Crews's testimony before the Senate.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
But honestly, the accusation that this is an attack on men and manhood is kind of absurd on its face, because we see a lot of positive traditional masculinity in here. We see dads barbecuing over the weekend with their kids, dads propping up, teaching and encouraging their sons, nurturing their daughters. We see men calling out bad behavior and ending fights and demanding respect for others. And we see fathers not only protecting other people, but importantly, they're teaching their sons how to be brave and how to stand up for others. It's a little disingenuous to say that this is an attack on men when the entire point of the ad is all but literally spelled out for you.
We believe in the best in men.
All they're doing is asking for men to be the kind of person Mr. Rogers knows they could be. If you see that as an attack, then that says more about you than anything else. Now, if you want to accuse Gillette of virtue signaling, well, yeah. That's exactly what this is. They're taking an explicit stance as a brand and saying these are the values that our brand now stands for. Yeah, of course money is involved with the decision. They're planting their flag like this because it's good business to be a responsible corporate citizen. They've done the math and realized that it makes better business sense for them to ignore the screaming MRAs and promote pro-social masculine values like this. Which makes the people screaming boycott all the more amusing, because this is something that would have been factored in the decision to take this stance. Really, it's no different than brands recognizing that using racist tropes and imagery in their advertising is a bad goddamn idea. They put their finger in the air, they've seen how the wind is blowing and how society is changing. I mean, they literally say this in the ad.
But something finally changed, and there will be no going back.
And And as much as folks want to try to change the script and call them out for hypocrisy, they're literally engaging with their own history, their own hypocrisy, and sexism in the text of the ad. I mean, you can't really have a more direct commentary on the history of the brand and its own marketing than having a bullied kid come bursting through one of their old commercials. Now, straight talk, I am not necessarily crazy about a brand trying to leverage performative wokeness and social change for capitalism, but I'm also a big believer in practical altruism and enlightened self-interest. Brands and corporations do have an effect on social norms, and if encouraging better behavior from men is a winning economic strategy, well, hey, I am not going to let the fact that their motivation isn't as pure as the driven snow get in the way of any of the good that it will do on affecting the national conversation. And on a personal and completely petty level, I have to admit, I'm kind of enjoying watching people making a big production out of chucking their razors. Razors which they've already paid for, so hey, Gillette already got your money. Good job, guys. And for all the folks saying that they're never going to buy Gillette or Procter & Gamble products again, and they're going to take their business to companies that appreciate traditional, manly behavior, like Dollar Shave Club, well,
whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong.
good luck with that. Hey, thanks for checking out my latest video. So, straight talk. I kind of enjoy doing breakdowns like this on occasion and talking about dating issues and masculinity as it crops up in pop culture. So if you want to see more like this, maybe return to the Learn from This series, then hit up the comments below and let me know, especially if you have a movie or a show you'd like me to talk about more in the future, maybe a nerd role model we could talk about on here. Meanwhile, like I said last time, I'm still taking questions for the Nerd Love Line special. If you've got a short dating question you'd like to have answered on here, then you can be sure to call it in to 512-522-6513, leave it on a voicemail, or you can record it on your end and send the audio file to doc@drnerdlove.com. Just be sure to put for YouTube in the subject so I know to see it. Meanwhile, if you really want to accelerate your game, if you want to get a lot better at talking to women, at knowing how to talk to women over instant message, over DM, over phone calls, if you kind of have a panic attack when it comes to trying to call someone on the phone, then you need my new book. I Got Her Number, Now What? If you're having problems getting phone numbers, if you're having problems turning those numbers into dates, then this is the book that you've been waiting for. It is your instruction manual about how to get over your fear of phone calls and how to learn to use texting, messaging, even direct messaging to become a dating Jedi. Links to buy it are in the show notes, so go check it out. And if you do check it out, be sure to rate and review it on Amazon and Goodreads. That's a huge help. It helps get the books more attention. I always appreciate it. Now, if you're digging the series, y'all already know what to do. You've been here, you've done that, you know the routine. Hit that thumbs up, let me know, share it with all your friends, share it on Twitter, share it on social media. If you are really enjoying these videos, if you're finding that you're getting a lot out of it, it's really helping you, and you want to support the channel, and your support will help create more bonus videos like this, then consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/drnerdlove. Even $1 is a huge help, but starting at $3 a month or more, you get access to some awesome patron-only bonus content. Meanwhile, you can follow me on Twitter at @DrNerdLove. You can keep up with the latest news by joining the Facebook page at facebook.com/drnerdlove. And as always, hit that logo to subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will be back with you next time with more about love, sex, and dating. Later.